right, let's continue on. We're going to be talking about the Qualified Business Income Deduction, Section 199A, in this topic. So let's go back to 2017. We have the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, at the end of 2017, which with most of the provisions in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 taking effect starting in 2018. A few of them started in 2017 and also affected previous years, but almost all of them started 2018. One of those provisions was known as Section 199A, Qualified Business Income Deduction, a new provision like we never seen in our tax system. So let me give you a little background of why we have this, and you'll see it, and I talk about it in the presentation as well in a moment, but this is very important, so even if you get twice, very important to understand. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 was huge, had huge overhaul to the tax system, all over, individual, corporations, international. The main overarching goal of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, regardless of what anyone tells you, wasn't to, give small or lower income or middle income individual taxpayers benefits, although that might have been part of it, or change things around the individual tax system. It was to lower the corporate tax rate from 35%, highest rate, to a flat tax rate of 21%. And that is applicable on C corporations, 2018 going forward. Okay, now again, many of you know there were a lot of other changes, but that was the main reason. And then to make up for that lowering of tax revenue, a lot of the changes were revenue raisers because they cut certain benefits out or did things differently, like change the inflation index from CPI to change CPI, or it just had those kinds of change effects, okay? So we go from 35% to 21% corporate tax rate. Now think about this. Back in 2017, before the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act took effect, 35% corporate tax rate was the highest corporate tax rate. Most corporations subject to that, C corporations subject to that rate. Individuals in the high 30% rate. And then small businesses, which are flow-through entities, and I shouldn't say just small businesses, but a lot of small businesses operate as sole proprietorships, partnerships, S corporations, LLCs. Those types of entities, those flow-throughs, they were flowing through to the owners at their respective ordinary tax rates, and the character would flow through. As you know, or maybe you don't know, but corporations, everything was subject to the 35% or whatever the rate was, whether the character was ordinary, capital, all those different items. Now, some of you are wondering, why are we getting into corporate tax? I thought this was partnership tax. And you're exactly right. This is partnership tax. Don't worry. I'm going to get there. So just keep in mind what's going on in 2017. We have this lowering of the C corporation from 35% to 21%. What do you think that does to the owners of LLCs, S corporations that are flow-throughs, that maybe they're in the 30%, let's just say, bracket. Maybe they're, again, progressive structure, but maybe their effective rate is around 30%. Maybe it's in the high 20s. That's still more than 21%. So they are crying foul that they don't want the C corporation rate to go down to 21% because they're in the flow-throughs, which are tax and flow-through rates based on their rates. And with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, their rate was going to be the highest rate of 37%. So there's this differential, okay? And yes, many of you are saying, well, what, double taxation? Well, effectively, that's the case. It brought it to the same, but there's benefits of being a C corporation, like timing and things like that, where you could work, it could be to your benefit. So lots of different lobbies, small business lobby, again, because small businesses operate, most of them operate through sole proprietorships, partnerships, LLCs, S corporations. Come in, and others come in, other different organizations come in, and they say, well, the small businesses, the flow-throughs, they need some type of tax benefit. And that's why Section 199A, Qualified Business Income Deduction, QBID, or Qualified Business Income QBI Deduction, referred to different ways. QBID, QBI Deduction, Section 199A, Qualified Business Income Deduction, all means the same thing. That's where we have that. That's where it comes from, okay? That's where it comes from. It's because, again, we lowered the corporate tax rate, giving C corporations this benefit, lowering the rates to make us more, the main reason, to make us more of an international player, because Most of the OECD countries, the average rate was around 21, 22%. We needed to lower our rate. We were at the highest rate. So we have this provision to give a benefit to the small businesses, well, the flow-through entities, I should say. C corporation does not get it. So if you are operating as a C corporation, you don't get that. You're going to learn that in the rules. But if you're operating as an LLC, sole proprietorship, partner in a partnership, S corporation owner, you could potentially get this benefit. Now, this packs a huge punch, and that's the reason why I've got my boxer outfit, right? Because it packs a huge punch. This is big. We've never seen anything like this in our tax system with a deduction where based on your income, you're going to get a deduction for that amount that's going to offset and lower your taxes, okay? Now, a little bit more history. When there was the House bill and Senate bill with respect to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the House bill actually offered different rates, lowering the rates for qualified business income, so we have rates. However, think about that. Those individuals that are already in the lower brackets, because they are small businesses, maybe they're not making much money, right? Maybe you're making $100,000 of income total from that business. You're probably going to be taxed at lower rates, lower than around 21% or whatever it is, right? You're going to be in those lower rates already. So that gives no benefit to those people if it's just, oh yeah, qualified business income is now 25% rate, something like that. So the small business lobby, they said, no, it can't be just like a 25% rate. It has to either be a lower rate or we need something else. And that's when the Senate, they provided the deduction. That's why we have this deduction. Now, it's made things really confusing, and you're going to learn, we're just going to talk about the basics. But qualified business income deduction, section 199A, we could have a whole course or several topics on specifically this provision. It's a very difficult provision, okay? In the firm that I practiced with, when section 199 came out, I was kind of like one of the help desk members, being an attorney at an accounting firm, and there were so many questions, and there still are questions out there. This is a topic where somebody can pretty much spend a lot of their tax career dealing with, okay? It is that difficult of a topic. There's a lot of stuff going on, okay? There's a lot of things. So keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and let's jump into, hey, you might see the boxing gloves come into play later, or, again, packs a punch. You might see how important that provision is later on. But let's go ahead, let's jump into the rules. So it's really broken into, the rules are going to be, we're going to go into the mechanics and the basics, and then also we're going to talk a little bit about planning. And some of that planning was initially, when the provision came out, some of that stuff might be, there might be new rules out there, but I just want to give you a little taste of kind of the planning aspects of that. All right, so let's go ahead, let's jump into those rules.